you to close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence and hold space.
Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vakrajandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dhura Hamare. Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari. 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 Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namo Namaha.
Namaste. Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang being a fancy Sanskrit word for spiritual community. It literally means community of truth. Wherever two or more people come together that are on the path of awakening and transformation, you have a satsang. This one, it's informal. We have people join us from all over the world, people who are with different spiritual teachers, different spiritual teachings and backgrounds. What we have in common is that we're on the path of awakening and the flowering of the heart in oneness with the divine presence within. So, welcome. Please, if you dropped into Facebook Live, give us a like or a love, a thumbs up or a heart. And we always go in at the end, and I go in through the work of the week from one Monday to the next to see the people that come in and watch the videos from week to week. And we love to see you've been here and that we've touched you, and we've all touched one another with grace. Yeah. So we share during these webcasts the Flowering Heart Blessing, or the Flowering Heart Light Transmission. It's a direct transmission of divine grace that catalyzes awakening, that dissolves blocks to awakening, that causes the presence within the heart to begin to flower and shine like a star going supernova. And the light begins to flood out from the interior of your being, illuminating, enlightening the spiritual layers, clearing and reordering the soulish layers of thought and emotion and programming, and healing and transforming our physical layers in our relationships and shining out through us to the world. It's something that's inside of us all along. We're the ones we were looking for. That inner divine light that we encounter that begins to expand within us is actually our true divine self. The one we were looking for all along. We kept seeing it reflected in mirrors in the faces of our teachers and certain things in the outer world, only to discover the outer world is simply a mirror reflecting to us our inner state. So when we see light reflecting to us through the eyes or the presence of an awakened spiritual teacher, it's literally a mirror awaiting our discovery to turn inward and to go to the center. And that's what the Flowering Heart Blessing does, is it awakens and enlivens that connection and causes it to begin to flower. So, and when you've received one of these blessings, which you have, if you're hearing this, you're soaking in it right now. If you like the energy, if you like the presence, then simply invite the divine to pour it through you. Once you've received a single Flowering Heart Blessing, you are activated to be able to share it with others. So join us during the webcast, and you'll get more out of this because you'll be opening yourself for the flow of grace to pour through you to everyone else that tunes in. What else?
No announcements this week.
It was quite a week.
It's quite a week.
Our youngest daughter just graduated from the University of South Florida. Yay! And so her graduation was Saturday. And then there was a Christmas party at some of our dearest friends' place on Saturday night. And then there was the graduation party on Sunday. And I had done a special Christmas presentation on Friday night for another group. So we're just taking a deep breath with you and relaxing into the present moment. Glad you're here. I think that's it for announcements. So the next part is we open it to questions and answers about the spiritual journey. Could be about awakening, could be about divine realization, divine union, reincarnation, life after death, life before death, life all the time, just live. And sometimes the more difficult questions bring inspired answers. Well, always. And last week was no exception. That one was one of the more watched video satsangs we've done in a long time, addressing the stuff in the Middle East. And So yeah, sometimes the least comfortable topics, I'm not encouraging you, but result in the most inspired and interesting sort of responses. To give us time to look inside and see if the presence might be suggesting to use you to ask a question, I like to read quotes from a website, inspiringquotes.com, where a group of authors writes these little articles about stuff that just touches all of our lives, and then they collect quotes that really inspired them about that subject. This one sort of reached out to me, 30 quotes from inspiring women. The full title was Our Favorite 30 Quotes from Inspiring Women, and I thought, wow, that sounds really interesting. So I began to read the quotes, and I found them inspiring enough to share with everybody, even though they're from women, inspired women. And then I got to the end and I began to read about the author, and it's a guy, which surprised. And I went, okay, I got to share these because, well, it's interesting what he saw. Bennett Kleinman, a staff writer at Optimism, as well as a freelance comedy writer. He's based in New York City, and we thank you, Bennett, for this inspiring list of lovely quotes. And here's a little introductory article from Bennett. No amount of superlatives can properly describe the incredible insightfulness of many historic women. From politicians to painters, authors to doctors, and athletes to moms, women have thrived and inspired countless others to do the same. What makes their achievements all the more remarkable are the hardships that women often endure in the constant struggle for equal rights. Hardships that force them to break down barriers and succeed in the face of adversity. History has seen figures including Rosa Parks, Helen Keller, and Virginia Woolf fight tirelessly for others, sharing wisdom that still resonates today. In modern time, inspirational women such as Dolly Parton and Malala Yousafzai, I think I almost got close to that one. Dolly Parton and Malala Yousafzai have led incredible lives that serve as motivation for others to pursue their own paths. Then there are groundbreaking artists and luminaries such as Maya Angelou and Frida Kahlo, whose creative works continue to have a major impact on the world. Listening to and absorbing the sage advice from these women and countless others, including women we know personally, can only broaden our worldview and better our lives. Here are 30 incredible quotes from some truly amazing women. Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. Maya Angelou. I'm not offended by all of the dumb blonde jokes because I know I'm not dumb. And I also know that I'm not blonde. Dolly Parton. I tell my story not because it is unique, but because it is the story of many girls. I think realizing that you're not alone, that you're standing with millions of your sisters around the world is vital. And that was Malala Yousafzai. This reminds me of the graduation ceremony at USF.
Right, I was thinking of that.
This poor guy had to read over 760 names of students from all over the world. And I think they were mostly the African ones that he stumbled over. And he was looking, and the graduate would be right in front of him trying to whisper, here's how you pronounce my name. It was absolutely funny. For me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. Michelle Obama. The history of men's opposition to women's emancipation is more interesting, perhaps, than the story of emancipation itself. Virginia Woolf. Step out of the history that is holding you back. Step into the new story you're willing to create. Oprah Winfrey. Great people do things before they are ready. They do things before they know they can do it. And by doing it, they're proven right. Amy Poehler. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. Eleanor Roosevelt. Of course, I'm not worried about intimidating men. The type of man who will be intimidated by me is exactly the type of man I have no interest in. Chimananda Ngozi Adichie. My best effort. I write for those women who do not speak, for those who do not have a voice because they were so terrified, because we are taught to respect fear more than ourselves. We've been taught that silence would save us, but it won't. Audre Lorde. Hear, hear. I live my life the way I want to, which used to be considered a masculine trait, but now it is not. When I started doing it, it wasn't so popular, but later in time, the later in time we get, the less radical it seems. Share. Cows run away from the storm, while the buffalo charges toward it and gets through it quicker. Whenever I'm confronted with a tough challenge, I do not prolong the torment. I become the buffalo. Catch this name, Wilma Mankiller. I hate to hear you talking so like a fine gentleman, and as if women were all fine ladies instead of rational creatures. We, none of us, expect to be in smooth water all our days. Jane Austen. I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up. Make sure you're very courageous, be strong, be extremely kind, and above all, be humble. Serena Williams. It can't last forever. Others have thought such things in bad times before this, and they were always right. They did get out one way or another, and it didn't last forever. Margaret Atwood. Just speak very loudly and quickly, and state your position with utter conviction, as the French do, and you'll have a marvelous time. Julia Child. When you can't find someone to follow, you have to find a way to lead by example. Roxane Gay. I'm not a bird, and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. Charlotte Bronte. Sometimes we get caught up in having to do the to-do list of everyday life that we forget that there's this curiosity and playfulness and this creativity that needs to be fed. Leanne Rimes. Always aim high. Work hard. And care deeply about what you believe in. And when you stumble, keep faith. And when you're knocked down, get right back up and never listen to anyone who says you can't or shouldn't go on. Hillary Clinton. People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that isn't true. I was not tired physically. The only tired I was tired of giving in. Rosa Parks. Of great, I don't even know if everyone knows Rosa Parks was that courageous black girl who would not give up her seat on the bus. And the ripple effect continued throughout her life. At the end of the day, we can endure so much more than we think we can. Frida Kahlo. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Marie Curie. There's something so special about a woman who dominates in a man's world. It takes a certain grace, strength, intelligence, fearlessness, and the nerve to never take no for an answer. Rihanna. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Helen Keller. Stop telling girls they can be anything they want when they grow up. I think it's a mistake. Not because they can't, but because it would have never occurred to them that they couldn't. Sarah Silverman. The truth is, I've never fooled anyone. I've let men sometimes fool themselves. Men sometimes didn't bother to find out who and what I was. Instead, they would invent a character for me. I wouldn't argue with them. They were obviously loving somebody I wasn't. Marilyn Monroe. Women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, I believe that you must become its soul. Coretta Scott King. Don't try to figure out what other people want to hear from you. Figure out what you have to say. Barbara Kingsolver. Some names are just, wow. Yeah, so again, thank you, Bennett Kleinman.
It was great.
Nice stuff. And that came from a brother who was so deeply inspired by those powerful women in his own life, I think stands out. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Powerful woman? Okay, let's go back over here and see. Oh, I see stuff. I see rising hearts, and likes and loves. Yay. So More writes, the day that in Gaza war stops, I will be so profoundly happy. Let's visualize it. Amen. And indeed, we do, and we will do that when we come to the intentional Diksha a little later on. And yeah, I will be so profoundly happy when that moment comes, and it needs to happen before now. And even happier, I will be so profoundly happy when the collective of humanity awakens one morning and says, what has this insanity been? And everyone lays down their weapons and picks up flowers and hugs each other, because we're family, for goodness sake. Michael Christopher writes, what can one do to resolve extreme resistance to surrender and let it go? Well, it's the same thing we do with extreme resistance to anything. First, we become aware of the resistance. There is resistance. And let me say, resistance is suffering. All psychological suffering is some form of resistance to the contents of this present moment. It could be an unresolved trauma that you've carried with you through life. It could be somebody that you encountered today that you feel resistance toward. It could be some feelings that came up in you and you discovered, wow, I still have a temper. I can still be judgmental. I can still, act from that place. So, and our tendency is to resist any of that. We resist feeling things that are unpleasant. We resist encounters with people that trigger us in certain ways. We resist our own anger and rage if it's there. And I'd suspect, since all of us are one being, just look at the world around you and you might be able to be lucky and say, I don't have any personal rage and I've resolved my own anger. But if you're a human being, we're part of a collective consciousness. And so there's still something in us of that until all of us are free. So the first thing we do is we acknowledge the resistance and we allow ourselves to experience it. Any charge, we like that word, we're talking about an emotion that's triggered, because emotion is like the electricity that moves us on some level. There are all different kinds of emotions, but resistance is one, and if we allow ourselves to experience the resistance, we don't like to feel resistance either. We resist feeling something else, and we resist the resistance. That's like suffering within suffering. So if we allow ourselves to just be with it, it will discharge. And when the resistance goes, what is in its place is acceptance. And it was there all along. Between every feeling of resistance that arises and dissolves in the void and the next feeling of resistance that comes up in the next moment, there is an open door to luminous space. Open luminous space, and that's the space of unconditional love and acceptance and freedom and expansion. It's there all the time. But we're so busy resisting those moments of emotional charge that are coming at us. It's like we're boxing with them, and we're distracted from that invitation to enter the luminous open space that is our true nature. So, first of all, be aware of the resistance, and you couldn't have asked that question if you weren't. Be aware of our resistance to surrender. And surrender is a gift. I used to think, from religious teaching, surrender is an act of your will. And I suppose on some level it could be, like in a war you could surrender. But deep spiritual surrender is really a gift. And we have to just make space for it to happen. And when it happens, game on, the transformation is on. So notice the resistance, don't move away from it, feel it, and just let it be without trying to fix it or resist it or change it, and it will discharge. And more, you'll be drawn into that luminous space.
I realize too, like Michael said, that's such a beautiful way that you put it, resisting, surrendering, because those are concepts that are coming from our mind. It's not that the resistance isn't real, but not wanting or resisting surrender into that union with the divine presence. It's like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, when you're in a hard situation, you feel like you can never get out of it. And once you get out of it, you go, why did I stay in that situation like that for so long? Yeah. So it's kind of like that with surrendering to the divine presence. And that resistance is just coming out of fear of the mind and the ego, thinking, oh, I won't be in control. I won't be able to take care of things. I won't be able to, be right. I'm going to have to surrender to something else. So that's just an extra little layer of ego that in the mind that we just, like, you're being aware of it now. So it's great. And then when we slip back into the heart, we feel the presence, it feels so much better than that chaos and confusion.
There's a scripture that says that the divine presence resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And I think humility is probably a gift too.
Probably.
So, prayer could be part of the equation, and asking for the assistance of the divine presence to help give us acceptance and the gift of surrender to what is, as difficult as that may be. So Mori says, thank you both for your blessings each Monday. You're so welcome. Thank you for your presence and for stirring the pot. John writes, John Lewis, Martin Luther King was mentioned last week. Representative John Lewis, now deceased, who was in the inner circle of MLK, said obviously they were aware of the teachings of Christ, but they also studied Gandhi and his methods. Yeah. Well, you know, Gandhi kept a Bible. Gandhi he read the Bible, I think, daily. And he said this indicting thing to any of us that think we're followers of Christ. He said, I myself would be a Christian if it wasn't for the example of his followers. Mm-hmm. He said, I believe this, you know, holding the Bible. He said, this speaks to me. And I would be converted if it wasn't for the way Christians act. And you could probably say that about any religion, honestly, which is why I decided a number of years ago, after spending my whole adult life in organized religion, in hierarchical roles, at teaching all kinds of stuff. A lot of that was great, but it just one day, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Religion is for the birds. What we need is genuine spirituality. And that also will cultivate good religion, if there is such a thing. And of course there is. So, More writes, will you be doing this meditation the 25th of December and the first day of January? Well, let's take a look. Monday the 25th. Oops, that's Christmas Day.
Yeah, we'll have all the kids over that day. But
we'll have to revisit that.
We'll revisit that.
You gave us something to think about again.
Thank you. So keep your eyes on Michael's emails that he sends out, and we'll give you an update on that question.
And also the first, New Year's Day is the next Monday.
Right.
We got to do something. We can't just sign off for 2 weeks. We'll come up with a plan. Okay. And More writes, we resist so much love. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We really do. You know, there's so many components to our being that, we feel like we're not worthy enough, we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, we're not whatever programs we have going. We definitely, because everything in life could be unconditional love that we're encountering in our relationships and our interaction. And because that's what we are at source. But that's a really, really good point. So whenever you see that you're resisting love, it's a good time to go within and heal that part of yourself. Ask for grace to heal it.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So, and More continues, I do affirmations during the day of surrender. Holding attention is a great help, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely. Christ said, whatever you say, without believing in your heart, without doubting that what you say will come to pass, you'll have whatever you say. So if you just, I am surrendering. The depth of my surrender to the divine presence is deepening moment by moment. Even if your mind goes, you're crazy, that's not true. Who cares? Your heart knows the truth. And if you proclaim that from your heart, and there's so many great affirmations, you can create your own. But Scripture's full of them. It will open the door. Yes. And then Morey says, maybe doing it on Tuesdays. Yeah, that we'll definitely ponder that. The day after Christmas and the day after New Year's Day probably is the best chance to actually pull it off rather than Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Right.
Yeah, I like that idea. We'll revisit it. Thanks for the suggestion, Morey. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions.
That's perfect timing.
So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to fully surrender to the presence in this moment. I mean, because we all want to be awakened. We all want to be in divine union. All those things are gifts of grace. If we could just surrender to receive the love that's being poured out to us, all of it would be automatic. Our awakening, the flowering of our hearts, the outpouring of miracles in our lives, that's all the work of the divine. We have to cooperate. We have our part to play. Yeah. So Morey wrote, does this make sense? I am love and I love myself. Yeah, that's great. Good one.
That's easy too. The easier it is to remember to repeat it and replay it and feel it in your heart while you're doing that.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough the power of positive affirmation. I learned that when I was a kid, and my grandmother, who was a religious editor of the Indianapolis Times for years, she pointed me to unity and said, I think you'll enjoy this. You know, I was a cradle Episcopalian, but she thought something would spark me. And unity in new thought presents the power of positive thought and affirmation. As the years went by, I discovered the power of meditation on the divine word, which is just full of, if you meditate on it, these divine affirmations that are just beyond our capacity initially to even accept. Could we really be that cool? Could we be that blessed? And yes. So, and John writes, I have not read the Quran or most of the Bible or any other holy books, but I walked into a convenience store owned by a Palestinian American. He had a CD player playing this beautiful song sung by a female in Arabic. My spirit started taking off as I asked him, what is that? And he said it was a prayer being sung to God from the Quran. Yeah. Nice one. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it could be worth reading. I wonder how many people. I presented to a Christian group on Friday night, strong Christian, and I was talking to them about the second coming of Christ, or the coming of Christ at the end of time, at the end of this age. And I said, do you guys know that Muslims believe that too? And I got these looks from all around the room. It was, what's he? We invited him to preach to us. What's he saying? And I had been, my study for that presentation had led me to the traditional Islamic understanding of the return of Christ, the second coming. And the belief about Christ is different, but Islam believes that Christ was prophet and was caught up to heaven alive, ascended, and will return one day to begin to establish the kingdom of God, the kingdom of Allah in this world. And they think then he's going to die, and there's a grave next to Muhammad's awaiting him. I mean, but there's this, it's part and parcel of their eschatology, the view of the end times of this age. And who would have thought that? I mean, I didn't. There's so much to learn. There's something good in all spiritual traditions. There's a lot that's really good in all of them. And if you don't read it, well, then you have to just trust people that pick out quotes like me from here and there and spin it together, and I'm happy to do that. But there's something about, just taking it in and letting it work on you. Anyway, enough of that. So close your eyes. John got me sparked again. Yeah, so just close your eyes, invoke the presence. Receive the flowering heart blessing of the divine source to awaken you, to free you and transform you, to make you whole, spirit, soul, and body, to flow it into your relationships, to shine through you to the outer world. The divine presence that dwells within you is all powerful, all knowing, all unconditional love. It knows what you want and what you need before you say anything at all. So just for the next few minutes, receive the grace that is flowing to you from the divine source. And now, let us visualize ourselves sitting together in a circle, with our eyes closed. Visualize the planet Earth in the middle of our circle, a kind of reduced size version. That beautiful, living, transparent, radiant blue planet that is alive in itself. Lift up your hands with your palms open, turn forward, and let us invite the presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through us to the planet Earth, to awaken all human hearts to the divine presence within, to melt away fear and hatred, anger, selfishness, to melt away all destructive influences of ego and self-centeredness in humanity, to cause all hearts to flower in divine oneness with unconditional love. Visualize it. See the earth before you lighting up with the light of life and love and awakening. Focus now on Gaza and the Middle East, and let us visualize peace, an end to all violence, all hatred, an end to war in Gaza. Let us take a strong intention that the Divine Presence will, at this very moment, extend miraculous protecting grace for all the innocent people there. A strong intention that divine angels, light beings from the heart of the divine would go forth. Protecting men, women, and children whose hearts are of goodwill. Peace, peace, peace. Now let us shift our focus to Ukraine. Here also, may the love and the presence of the divine melt all fear, anger, violence, and replace it with unconditional love for humanity and peace, bringing about an end to war and conflict in Ukraine and that entire region. And again, for all of humanity, that our hearts would be clear of all darkness and density, death and sin, and filled with the light of life and unconditional love all throughout the world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now you can relax your hands, your lap somewhere, and open your eyes. Begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes. There's nothing else to do except receive the grace that flows during the light meditation. During this meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of divine grace, light, and love. It pours through our whole being to you, especially through our eyes, the mirrors of the soul. The light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the light of awakening within you, the fires of divine love transforming and burning within you, brighter and brighter and brighter, transforming you. Just allow it to receive. close your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace settles within. And you can keep meditating as long as it feels like it. Feels good, do it. Keep meditating. And or you can lie down in Shavasana, which is a yoga pose where you just find a comfortable spot to lie on your back. Close your eyes. Let your arms rest loosely at your sides with the palms turned upward. And just let yourself dissolve in the presence of gratitude. We love you so much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you.